Well, hello and welcome back, fellow shapers of the future. Today we are going to go on one about this thermoplastic a little bit. As you may know, I love this stuff. It's just crazy fun, crazy imaginative, crazy creative, and very versatile. So I was requested to make a video, a desktop view of how I apply these plastics to knives, or in particular a Swiss Army knife. So I'll go about hopefully trying to show you my methods of doing this. Incidentally, I'd like to apologise for my lack of content recently. It's just been a little blip in the system and well, basically transport issues. So hopefully everything's solved now and I'll be getting back in to my favourite little spot and get this creative, inventive mindset going again, because the winter it kind of stopped a little bit, but now spring's here. I'm already starting to feel the sparks flying around there, little things that I could do and create, invent, whatever. But yeah. And by the way, today's incense is sponsored by, I wish, Fire Angel. These are Stanford incense sticks. They're generally good quality, I find. This is called Angel's Fire Angel. So hopefully that won't just set light to everything or fly off. But Fire Angel. Okay, we'll give that a little while just to settle in. And we'll move on. So here's a knife I was just mucking around with, just making sure that my way of doing things was correct and that it works, really. As you can see, I use these butter knives. They don't have to be butter knives, they can be smooth steel. As long as it's smooth, and if it's cold, it's a bonus. We'll go into that later. So a variety of different steely, shiny steel. And these butter knives seem to work perfectly for these knives. So, I mean, when they cool down like that, it completely lets go of the plastic. So there's no stickiness whatsoever. Not the neatest. Needs a bit of rearranging. See if we can improve the light a little bit. Yeah, that's not the neatest. That's not trimmed up or anything yet. That's straight out of the mould as it is, and this actually slid by the look of it a little bit off, but that'd be easily corrected. The main thing is that it is stuck to it with the clips, and that was a nice sound there, nice clip, little clip on that one. Oh, and this is a good one, and a big clip on that one, so you can see this. This isn't the only way to do it, but this is just my new way of doing it, really. So now that clips back on there and it does properly clip in. As good as nearly as good as the original. Just make sure it's all popped in. So there we have the basics of a finished product. I'm trying to get an orangey, sunnish kind of colour, mainly because I want to stand out and not lose it. Red is what it came as, and that is a great colour for standing out if you drop it in the woods. But you know, I like to personalise things a little bit. You need it a certain thickness, otherwise this plastic will bend a little bit if it's too thin. This is wafer thin, as you can see, and as a result it got a rather nasty bend in it when I took it off. So too thin is no good. A little bit thicker than these plates here, that is a perfect thickness, and that's my favourite colour, the orange and yellow. It's 50-50, 50 on the orange, sorry, on the rose red, and 50 on the yellow to make that colour. I might try to go a little bit brighter even and add a bit of, it might be pure red I guess, although that is slightly pinky. But yeah, I might try to make an orange with those two next. These are all little paints, they're 5 grams, 10 grams, but there is enough in there to keep you going for ages, really. So skipping off the subject a bit. So to make one of these for my friend JM Knives, who requested this video. Yeah, they're pretty tough. Obviously you can make them thicker if you require. And they haven't been trimmed. They'd need just trimming that edge off there nice and straight. Scissors would be the best thing really, and to take that burr off there with scissors or a knife, very sharp knife. These are ones that I've made before. These are a lot more solid because I've actually put them onto the original. So they were very thin, much like this. And I literally just heated them on. I heated the plastic a little bit first, not enough to melt it or damage it, and then I applied this, what can we call it? Well, this plastic plate on top, and just melted the two together. They will come apart with a bit of forcing, but yeah, don't need to. So like I say, I prefer this other method, where you can just pick which ones you want to use. This is another one that has been kind of made, again with those patterns that I like. I like these kind of things like that are quite interesting to look at. Lots going on with it. But today I think we're going to use a bit of blue and probably mix in, let's go for a bit yellow. Try and make it a little bit stripy or something. Try and get some kind of pattern, just to make it a little bit more interesting. So we'll clear the area and get on with it. Sorry if I dilly-dally, but we get there eventually. So just make sure your whole area is safe. This is 2/2 of shiny steel. All I'm using it for really at the moment is just to stop the heat blowing around over there. It wouldn't cause too much of a problem, but it just saves these plastic things curling up. And there's a wax candle over the back that I'd melt a little, so this just keeps the heat. It's more energy efficient, isn't it, to have it reflect back upon itself. Making it up as I go along. These are kind of equal, I guess, but I'm going to put them together and start a scratch from them. I'm going to use a heat gun. You can of course use boiling water to do this. A pair of scissors just to hold them. Just be careful. It'll take maybe a minute to warm up. So I might fast forward this just to save a bit of time on the video length. That does go a lot hotter, that heat gun, but I don't see the sense. I'm quite patient for things. And rather than blow the motor out or the heating element. So we've got it all together. Roll it into a ball. Rolling it into a ball means that you've got it much more soluble. It'll stay warm for a lot longer, so you can use it for longer periods. Also, it actually bounces a little bit when it's in this form. Then we're just going to roll it out on this piece of wood, trying for symmetry. That's the only thing we're worried about really, is getting some form of symmetry so that we can then chop that exactly in half. For obvious reasons, two sides. In fact, I won't muck around adding colours on this. I'm just going to go straight to it and do what I do. There's a lot of other little things you can add to this way of doing it, and I'd be interested to hear any that you found out, because this is all a learning experience. So it's just stuff I found out using this over the last 10 years. That'll give that a chrome finish. Nice shiny chromy effect. So we're just going to try and get it roughly. This has cooled down to the point where it's manipulative, where it won't stick to this. If it's too hot, that'll stick together. You'll end up with a gooey mess. So get it just right, and you can actually shape it while it's still shapeable, really. Just try to get everything in line. You will of course perhaps dry the oil out in these, but that's easily solved. Just re-oil it after you've finished doing this. And you will need to play a little bit of pressure on the points where it needs to grip round those clips, which should be there, there and there. Don't worry about it being undulating, because we can sort that out, hopefully. As long as it's even. Move on to the other side. Hopefully this is still warm enough. That's why you keep it in larger bit as possible. And then place it on there evenly. Because it's cooled down, you can just flatten it. Should have this blade on top of that one, really. Right, so it's fell short up this edge a little bit, so we'll push it up. Making sure everything fits where it should. It's okay for it to overhang because you can trim it. I do like to clear that little bit there. With a nice straight line if I can. And then make sure you've pressed it quite firmly into those things that will keep it in place. Now squashing it back up there a bit so it's about the right shape, if a little bit under the size that you need it really, because we're going to squash it again a little bit just to make it nice and flat and give it that finished look. So there, we've basically got that. We've just got a load of rubbish on it because I didn't put it on something metal. So we might not get quite as glossy finish on this side, but we'll see. And with this is a little bit of a balancing act. There's little bits. Go for that one. So we've got a nice flat knife. Just a little bit worried about this top. You don't want it to go over the utilities or the knives. But yeah, we should be able to trim that off anyway. Place the knife on. And if you've got metal plates like these, it would probably be better to use them. But that is pretty much it. And then just heat it up. Heat it up for about 30 seconds, about 20 on top, about 10 underneath. Maybe a touch longer, so it takes a while to heat up. That should do it. So now, bearing in mind that that's very hot, surprisingly. Not enough to actually burn you badly, I don't think, but take no risks. Just going to give it a little squeeze together. Trying to get it nice and even. You don't have to have these gloves, you can just be careful, but that's it. And you don't have to use a vice, you could just put something heavy on it. You don't want to tighten it too much because that'll make it too thin, and also the excess will come over into the workings, which isn't a problem, you can trim it, but just saves work a bit further down the line. And then of course just leave that to cool, like that. It will see that is a nice even, tiny bit more, but we don't want to use too much. Leave that to cool. You can put it in the fridge freezer and that will cool an awful lot quicker. Otherwise that could take up to 10-15 minutes even for that to cool down to the point where you can actually look at it and see how much of a good connection you've got going with it and stuff. But what you'll find is, as soon as I let go of this vise, when it's been left for say half an hour, which is extreme really, the blades will literally just fall away. If you tried to take the blades away at the moment, because of the amount of heat, it would be a stringy spaghetti and they wouldn't come apart. So you have to let things go cold before you touch this again. And we shall see what results come. While we're waiting, I'll just mention something else that I've come across. Got all those paints, they're all called mica, if you wanted to search them up. But silk purple, not my favourite. Mica powder, M-I-C-A powder. You can get a whole range like that lot for about 15 quid, 30, 40 colours. So you can really experiment with the colourings and things. Right, these are all just trimmings of things that I've made, that have failed, that have succeeded. Either way, there's a whole range of colours in here. It takes good prints. I don't know if you can see that, but that's an old coin. That's actually for my knife. But yeah, what I'll tend to do is then chop them up further into tiny bits, like these. And that's where I make these patterns, where it's just a random collection of colours, which I really like. Yeah. Reflect the light beautifully. I've also heard you can get things called opal flakes. Now opal flakes and maybe a resin would give it a very opalesque effect, and I'm very interested in that, certainly. So I'm going to have a little play with that at some point. This powder can be added to the paints, but it is a... I'll just leave that on there for a minute and give this a go. Don't know how well the camera will pick up on it. Try the lights out. This one. And then that. And then when I turn the torch off, maybe you can make that out. But, yeah. This is a blue one, obviously, I hope you can see that. But this is a blue powder. You can get red and you can get green also. So now I'm trying to find where everything is again. There we go. So that, it might not be a game changer as such, but to add fluorescent colouring at some point or other might come in useful, I don't know. I might even make a sheath with the Swiss Army knife, because this stuff does glow all night long. I put this beside my bed just to look at it. This is quite interesting. I'd like to see it go through a sand timer, a very slow sand timer, and just watch it go through at night, like a night light, really. I know it's a little bit sad, but yeah. And yeah, that's what I'd like to go with it. I'd like to make an hourglass somehow, because this glows, like I say, all night. I wake up in the morning in the winter where it was not getting light till 8 o'clock in the morning after 6-7 hours sleep, and this would be glowing almost as bright as it was when I went to sleep, which is surprising, because everything fluorescent I've had before usually only lasts a short time, but maybe that's because this is concentrate form. I don't know, but you can look it up. It's just glow in the dark powder. It doesn't say anything about the toxicity, but it can't be terrible. And of course, be wary about receiving packages like this, especially from maybe Colombia or somewhere. But yeah, from China, I believe. So this has cooled, and yeah, this one has wrapped around a little, so that will need a little bit of attachment. And there we have it. This is now my blue Swiss Army knife with a black coursing through it. I don't know if you can make that out, but there is black strands going through there in a nice kind of wave pattern. So now all I'd do is trim this up with a pair of scissors. Make sure we've got it so it comes on and off, that it's not too thin or too thick or any issues. Now you can see that's good clips. And again on here, yeah, very good clips. Just about the right thickness. You learn as you go what kind of thickness you need. Each one I make is getting better, but it's easy to see where you need to trim this up. And then that is about it. Job done. A very simple one. I don't think I need to show you me trimming it up. It's kind of obvious. The main thing was that you understood the method of how to get these very nice shiny gloss, no scratches, no anything on there, dead smooth, because it is as smooth as that is. So obviously you can then take this a step further. I've got a Dremel, and you can engrave, obviously backwards, engrave it backwards on there. I'm going to do one soon on that, so I'll keep you updated, but it's going to be BATW, sort of Badger and the Woodsman, in reverse, which is going to be a little bit tricky. And then I'm going to try and etch that into the blade, so that every one of these that I make will have BATW on it. These little ones here don't know if you can make them out, but there is a hallmark on there just saying it's British steel, where a manufacturer was and stuff. But even that small imprint comes out on these, so it doesn't take much effort to scratch in there whatever you want to be embossed on this, because it will be raised out, so that will be embossed onto the plastic. So hopefully that wasn't too long and boring. I'll trim that up a little bit, but I think that covers it all. It's all about getting this the right temperature. Too hot, no good. Let it cool down a bit. Let these go cold. And that's about it really. It's I think you can work it out from there. But obviously that can be multiple different things that you can do that with. Not just a Swiss Army knife, but other knives obviously. But handles, I've used it for my joints on the bucksaw, and a few other things that I just wanted to make a little bit neater. With the bucksaw that was a bit bigger than that, so I used these to make the crossbars for them. Just put them on and they come out like a factory product almost. So there you go, JM Knives, shout out to you. I hope you got what you needed out of this. I will shortly be doing a video covering thermoplastics completely. It's going to be roughly 30 tips on using thermoplastic. I've written down about 25 so far, and I keep thinking of more as I go. I've been using this stuff for 10 years now, and I've learned a lot of tricks and tips on how to get better results and whatnot. So I'll do that soon. Thanks for watching, guys. Take care of yourselves.